I've been hardstuck bronze and sometimes iron for over a year now, and now I've finally almost made it out. And it seems there's a ton of people in the same position right now, according to Valorant rank distribution July 2023. So I want to go over the things I changed to finally get out of being hardstuck in such low elo. And although there's a ton of advice online, sometimes high ranks can be a bit out of touch with the bronze and iron elo.
However, learning the minimap will truly give you an edge over your enemies and other people in your rank. Although your teammates should always call out enemy locations when gaining sight of them, you have probably realized by now that this doesn't always happen.
I don't think there are any bronze players that actually got to silver just by looking at the minimap, because most bronze players already do that. I'm going to go over some things I changed that actually helped me rank up. One of the most important things is to make sure you do some aim training or warm up before your comp games. I used to jump straight into a comp game after not playing for like a week, but now I've realized it's super useful to jump into the range and just literally fire at dummies for like 2 minutes straight, and then also do deathmatch afterwards. Personally, I hate aim training and it's super boring, but even just spending 2 minutes can make a big difference. For example, a lot of the time I do medium bots, and after some practice, I can easily get over 25, whereas before my average was like 16. The point is, make sure you do some sort of warm-up or aim training before playing. Do this every day and you'll easily see a huge difference in your aim. And aim is super important because even if you have great game sense, there's no point if you can't shoot the enemy. And the second thing I changed was I stopped switching up agents. I used to have a huge variety of agents I just play randomly, and I was just playing super inconsistently until I decided to stick to one agent, and as you can tell, it's Phoenix. Just Phoenix all the way with occasionally a bit of Sova. And it's super important to stick to one agent because then you can learn them much better than if you spread out your time with multiple agents. Especially if you're watching pro players play Phoenix or learning lineups that are really good. And if you're struggling to find someone to main, I'd recommend picking a duelist because that is the easiest way to carry your team, as it's hard to have as much impact with a controller or even initiator. And as your aim starts to improve, you really start to notice the difference as a duelist, because obviously you have to take a lot of gunfights and you start to win them a lot more often. And don't be afraid to just dry peek opponents, because if you're not good enough to just out aim them, then you don't really deserve to rank up. And another huge thing I learned was how to spend money wisely. Now of course I can still learn more things, but some basics I learned were, when you're on round 2, if you've won pistol round, buy Spectre and Ares and maybe Light Shield. But if you've lost, then you just save again and at most you buy a Ghost. And another mistake I was making was if I had like 3,000 credits and I still had an Ares from last round or another good gun like Spectre from last round, I would literally throw away and buy Vandal. The reason this is such a huge mistake is because if you lose this round and you die, next round you'll be completely broke. Whereas instead you could have saved 3,000 credits and also went into the round with Spectre or Ares, which are both very good guns. So even if you think you're ahead in economy, make sure you don't waste your money. One thing I used to think was holding me back was FPS. Now of course if you're at 10 FPS or even 30 FPS, you're definitely being held back. But once you hit 60 FPS, you kind of have no excuse, because there are plenty of Immortal and even Radiant players who are on 60 FPS. I made a whole video on how I upgraded monitor and thought going from 60 to 180 would make like a huge difference. And although it's definitely noticeable, it didn't make me better at Valorant. And the final tip I have is try to improve whilst you're playing. If you're actively thinking about the mistakes you've made or the good plays you've made, you'll stop making the same mistakes over and over again, and you won't be losing easy rounds. For example, if your team's planted spike and it's a 3v1, you don't need to peek that one guy. You can just play time and he'll show up eventually, and when he does, you can easily kill him. Anyways, that's all for today. Let me know if this video was useful and subscribe if you haven't already.